Hello dear children. Let's move on to next topic of the chapter states of matter, gas and liquid. Today I'd like to discuss Dalton's law of partial pressures. As you know that when different gases that do not react chemically with each other, when they are enclosed in the same container, what they will do, they will intermix rapidly and exert a definite pressure on the container's wall. Again, each of the gas in the mixture exerts its own individual pressure if it is present only in the same container at the same temperature. Okay, means if single gas is present in the container, it is exerting some pressure. And when mixture of gases, and the gases should be non-reacting. Okay, so they will exert also pressure on the wall, and this will occur at the same temperature. So John Dalton in 1801 established the relation between the pressure of the mixture. Dalton in 1801 established the relationship between the pressure of the mixture of gases and individual pressures of the constituent gases. Means collectively what pressure they are exerting and separately what pressure they are exerting. So this relationship is known as Dalton's law of partial pressures. It states that at a given temperature, the total pressure, that is here it is given P total, is total pressure exerted by two or more non-reacting gases occupying a definite volume is equal to the sum of the partial pressures of the component gases. So mathematically we can write, if I'm taking gases as 1, 2, 3 or A, B, C, any term I can use. So P total will be P1 plus P2 plus P3, where P total is the total pressure and P1, P2, P3 are the partial pressures of the component gases 1, 2, 3 respectively. So the pressure that a component gas of the gaseous mixture would exert if it were only present in the volume under consideration at a given temperature is the partial pressure of the component. So if we will move on to derive the Dalton's law of partial pressure, let's see what we can do. So consider a mixture of non-reacting ideal gases with N1 moles of gas 1 and N2 moles of gas 2, and so on. Many we can take. Let's take 2 only here. Consider 2 gases. So gases are enclosed in a container with volume capital V, temperature capital T and pressure capital P. So as you know the equation PV is equals to nRT, do remember by heart. I hope you have learned this formula from class 10th only, so it is clear to you. So that formula only we have to add here, and P, and instead of N, as I am taking 2 gases here, so number of moles of both the gases that will be added, and that will give PV is equals to N1 plus N2 RT. Okay, when we will open the bracket, you know what to do. You all are good math students. So what you have seen, like this only we have to move on, just calculating it, opening the bracket and calculating. So finally we will get the percent of the gas in a mixture, partial pressure of the gas by total pressure of the gaseous mixture into 100. So relationship between total pressure and individual pressures before mixing of the constituent gases at constant temperature. For this, we can follow this formula and we can calculate. So pressure for dry gas will be equal to the pressure of moist gas minus pressure of water vapor. Okay, and pressure of water vapor is only known as aqueous tension. So if we have to find out the pressure of dry gas, this will be equal to pressure of moist gas minus aqueous tension. What is aqueous tension? Pressure of water vapor. So what is the application of Dalton's law of partial pressure? Gas exchange between living organisms and the environment depends on the properties of gases, in particular partial pressure and solubility. Respiration is one of the most important processes because we need to breathe oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide in order to live. Let's see what is Graham's law. It is on the diffusion of gases. So diffusion, you are aware of the term diffusion. Suppose in one corner of your classroom, if someone will spray a perfume, that will be diffused and that can reach to your teacher's nose also. So that is diffusion. You are aware of the property of gases, how the gases diffuse. So when two or more non-reacting gases are kept side by side, they have the tendency to mix with one another spontaneously and form a homogeneous mixture. This can occur also if two gases have different densities. What will happen? The heavier gas moves up and the lighter one comes down, even against the action of gravity. Such a phenomena is due to the fact that gas particles are moving at random with high velocities and there is much intermolecular empty space in the volume of any gas. So when two gases are brought together, they mix with each other in no time. Without taking time, they get mixed with one another. This ability of a gas to mix spontaneously and to form a homogeneous mixture is known as diffusion. And it is due to this phenomena that we can readily detect the fragrance of a flower or a perfume or bad smell of hydrogen sulfide, sulfur dioxide, chlorine, etc. And when these are evolved or used in any work in laboratory or in industry, we can get the smell of that gas. Though we are not using it, is not being near to you, but you can get the smell of that particular gas because of the property of gases, that is its diffusion. When you will come to school, you will find everywhere the smell of chlorine. As your school is continuously it is being sanitized. So the machine you will see, and you will see how a chemical containing sodium hypochlorite or bleaching powder, which is mixed in water, though it should be mixed in alcohol, but in the bulk quantity, we can mix it in water and use it to sanitize the whole campus of your school. So you will not see the sanitization, but you will get the smell of chlorine. So this was your diffusion. One more term is here, effusion. What is effusion? Actually, it is a process in which a gas is allowed to escape under pressure through a fine orifice or a small aperture made in the wall of a closed container. Okay, the gases which are filled in any container, a small hole aperture or orifice, from that when the gas escapes out, that is termed as effusion. So the difference between diffusion and effusion is that in the former case, means in the diffusion, the gas spontaneously streams through a porous position, while in the case of effusion, the gas is forced out through a small hole by applying some external pressure. However, both the processes are essentially the same. Exactly the Graham's law of diffusion or effusion is. This law was presented by Thomas Graham in 1833, And the law states that at constant pressure and temperature, the rate of diffusion or effusion of a gas is inversely proportional to the square root of its density. Okay, so rate of diffusion is inversely proportional to the square root of the density. Here on the screen you can see a formula. R is the rate of diffusion, D is the density of the gas. And let R1 and R2 be the rate of diffusion of two gases of densities D1 and D2 respectively. Then what formula we can get? We will get the formula R1 by R2 is equals to root D2 by D1. Okay, don't get confused. R1 above, D1 below, R2 below, D2 above, and this is square root. Okay, so rate of diffusion we can find out of two gases. With this formula only, if we will keep on changing the quantities, suppose density is given, so density of gas upon density of hydrogen, that will give the vapor density, and vapor density can be converted into molar mass of the gas. So we can get a formula: rate of diffusion of a gas is inversely related to the square root of the molar mass. Density we have seen, mass also we can see here. So the equation shows the ratio of gas A's speed of gas B's speed. Means if we will see the we can see here the equation which shows the relation between the velocity and the mass of the two different gases. Okay, what is the how to determine the rate of diffusion? How we can determine it? So the rate of diffusion is equal to distance travelled by gas per unit time through a tube of uniform cross section. Number of moles effusing per unit time is also called rate of diffusion. And decrease in pressure of a cylinder per unit time is called rate of effusion of gas. What are the applications of this? We can do the detection of marsh gas in mines. I hope you remember what is marsh gas. Yes, it is methane. Separation of isotopes, determination of density and molecular masses of the gases. These are the applications of this Graham's law or law of diffusion or effusion. There will be few numericals which will be based on these formulas that I will give at the end of the chapter. So let's see what is the kinetic theory of an ideal gas. Gas is composed of large number of tiny invisible particles known as molecules. These molecules are always in state of motion with varying velocities in all possible directions. Molecules travel straight line path between any two collisions. Means when the molecules collide, again they travel in a straight path. Whatever will be the direction will be changed, and they will move on in a straight path. Size of molecule is infinitely small compared to the average distance travelled by the molecule between any two consecutive collisions. The time of collision is negligible as compared with the time taken to traverse the path. Molecules exert force on each other except when they collide, and all their molecule energy is having the kinetic energy. intermolecular distance in gas is much larger than that of solids and liquids, and the molecules of gas are free to move in entire free space near to them. So what is the deviation from the ideal gas behavior? Okay, the gas which completely does not follow the ideal gas behavior is known as real gases. So a gas which do not follow ideal gas behavior under all conditions of temperature and pressure is called real gas. So deviation from ideal behavior with respect to pressure can be studied by plotting pressure versus volume curve at constant temperature. So let's move on to van der Waals equation. And what is the reason for this deviation? Why real gases are there which are not like the ideal gas? Actually, first reason, there is no force of attraction between the molecules of gas, but it is not true as gaseous particles have force of attraction present between them. So correction is made in pressure, where when we write the formula PV is equals to nRT, here we will write, instead of P, we will write P plus A by V square. So volume, second reason, volume occupied by the gas molecules is negligible as compared to the total volume of gas. But the volume occupied by the gas doesn't has negligible value. So the correction of volume is, where we are writing V, we will write V minus B. And here A and B are van der Waals gas constant. So from above 2 points, van der Waals derived the equation as, this is that base formula is PV is equals to nRT, okay. So this you will get when we will keep the value of pressure and volume, is the correction of pressure and correction of volume. So the van der Waals constants signify the magnitude of intermolecular forces of attraction between the gas particles, while B signifies the effective size of the gas molecule. This is our van der Waals equation. P plus An square by V square, V minus Nb is equals to nRT. P is your measure pressure. An square by V square is the correction factor to account for intermolecular forces. V is measured volume. Nb is correction factor to account for molecule size. N is number of moles. R is gas constant, and capital T is temperature. And here the pressure, after the correction, the pressure will become P plus An square by V square. This is ideal gas pressure, and V minus Nb is ideal gas volume. What is important to note here? Real gases show ideal gas behavior when pressure and temperature is such that intermolecular forces are negligible. Real gases show ideal gas behavior when the pressure approaches zero, and at low pressure all the gases have Z is equals to 1. Gases show ideal gas behavior when volume occupied is so large that volume occupied by the molecules can be neglected. That is when pressure is low. So real gases show ideal gas behavior at low pressure and high temperature. So the modification we have done, we have seen volume correction and pressure correction. Now let's move on to next topic, that is liquefaction of gases and critical temperature. I think I will discuss both the topics in my next lecture, and maybe that will be your last lecture of this chapter. So whatever I have taught, go through it once see the formulas, try to do the numericals which are given after the topic in your book. Later on, I'll give you more questions on it. Okay, thank you so much.